We are in the middle of 2 days of Supreme Court hearings on same-sex marriage. The outcome could change who can get married in the United States. Today, the High Court heard arguments over California's Proposition 8, which bans same-sex marriage. Tomorrow, the Supreme Court hears arguments on the Federal Defense of Marriage Act, which defines marriage as between a man and a woman. Protesters who both support and oppose same-sex marriage are rallying in Washington. We're listening to both sides right here at NBC 10 as well. Joining me now is Pastor Todd Johnson, who opposes same-sex marriage. He is on the Leadership Council of the Pennsylvania Pastors Network. Also today we have Jay Lassiter with us, who supports same-sex marriage. He is a political activist and member of Garden State Equality. Let's begin today with Pastor Johnson. First off, Pastor, thank you for being with us. Why do you believe marriage should be confined to a man and a woman? Let's start right at the beginning.
Well, I believe marriage is defined biblically between a man and a woman because that was God's design, not only for procreation, but we at the Pennsylvania Pastors Network believe that this is God's model for natural marriage between a man and both a woman.
All right, let's get the immediate response to that. On the opposite side of this issue, Jay Lassiter, why do you believe same-sex couples should have a constitutional right to same-sex marriage? And your response to what the pastor said?
The issue of marriage equality is not a religious issue. It's a civil issue. If we define marriage based on religion, then we wouldn't allow for divorce in this country. We have already redefined marriage quite a few times, and I'm glad. Otherwise, people wouldn't be able to get a divorce legally in this country. Marriage is a civil institution. It's not a religious institution, and that's why I think it's a civil right and it's guaranteed by the Constitution.
Of course, we know this argument is taking place as polls indicate public opinion is shifting toward acceptance of same-sex marriage. So a question to both of you now, what do you want the Supreme Court to decide? How important is it to you that the type of ruling, whether it's on broad or narrow grounds, happens? What would you like? There's been a lot of dialogue today from the justices. Your response to what they had to say. Let's begin with you, Pastor.
I would like for the Supreme Court to make a final ruling that marriage is indeed between a man and woman. We know that marriage from its inception was always defined as opposite sex who are married and joined together as one. The Bible talks about the two becoming one flesh, and we're very clear and very adamant that marriage should remain as is between a man and a woman as the Bible defines it. Of course, we know the people of California had a right to vote, and they got it right the first time, and now the courts want to overturn that.
All right, Lassiter, your response. Would you only like to see something on broad grounds? Would you be satisfied if there was a decision made with a more narrow ruling? And what you had to say about the justices' response today in their dialogue?
Well, I'm satisfied because my side has already won in the court of public opinion. And pretty soon we'll know if we've won in the United States Supreme Court as well. It's quite possible that today's case, which dealt exclusively with Prop 8, might be defined narrowly. I suspect, however it's defined, at the end of the day, gays and lesbians in California will have the right to get married. I don't think that it will be a sweeping ruling for all 50 states. I will think it will rule affirmatively for our side in California, and I do believe that it's possible for the 9 states who now allow for civil unions for same-sex couples, including New Jersey, where I live, will allow for gay marriage equality there as well.
We know there are also implications beyond the label of just calling someone a spouse. What are you looking forward to tomorrow when DOLA takes center stage, when we start talking about benefits that these couples will see?
Well, I'm actually right in the middle of filing my taxes, and for anybody out there who thinks that weddings are just about rice and cake and, you know, inviting your friends over to have a big ceremony, you know, that's important, and the symbolism is important, but actually gays and lesbians are discriminated against every April 15th when we file our taxes. We can't file jointly. When in same-sex couples, if one of the couples is on the spouse's insurance plan, we're taxed on that as if it were a benefit. And this is something that same-sex or that opposite-sex couples don't have to deal with. So it's not just it's not just the things that you might expect. It actually has to do with tax law and that sort of thing. And on April 15th, we're all very mindful of tax fairness, and believe me.
And just quickly, Pastor, your response to that.
I'm hoping that not just beyond April 15th, as Jay mentioned, but understand this, Jacqueline. Marriage is both between male and female. There was an 11-year-old young woman who was testifying in Minnesota, and she asked the question, which parent don't I need if marriage is, between same sex? And so that the whole idea of homosexual marriage came to fore, and the legislators were not able to answer her because both parents are important. It's important that a child, that parenting be done both from a mother and a father.
Mm-hmm. There are 40,000 children in California whose parents are same-sex couples. Reverend, what do you say to those children?
Actually, we are out of time at this point. Glad that both of you were able to talk to us today. We know that this is not the end of the discussion. In fact, this debate is just beginning. Pastor Todd Johnson and Jay Lassiter, thank you so much for sharing your views with us today. We know it is not the last time that we'll hear from you.
Thank you, Jessica.